watching grunge leg drop, new jack through a press table. And then my heart stopped listening to Cho-Cho San. Fall in love all over again. I'm alive like you.
Hello, and welcome to the premiere pilot debut episode of a new wrestling podcast, because there aren't too many of those in the world right now. Smarks Without Attitude. I'm Reese, and joining me is Harry. Say hello, Harry.
Hello, Reese. How you doing?
I'm great, mate. Thank you. And the idea of this podcast here is the fact that me and Harry usually sit on WhatsApp on Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings, Sunday mornings, throughout the day, talking about wrestling, what's been going on in wrestling, and this is merely a transfer from WhatsApp to, well, doing it on Skype, but then recording the Skype conversation and then putting it on SoundCloud or whatever you put podcasts on, so that other nerds can listen in. So yeah, we're giving this a go. It might keep going. It might not. We'll find out. But we're going to go for a podcast that sometimes talks about the big events. So in this first edition, we've just had NXT and Backlash on the weekend, so we're going to talk about those in a moment. But going forward, we like the idea of talking about big landmark moments in wrestling. Obviously, we're in 2017. 20 years ago was 1997. That was a very jam-packed year, and that would be a very good year to talk about. 10 years ago was 2007, and again, big moments there. And we're just going to talk about those kind of years. And obviously, when we hit 2018, we'll have 98 and 2008 to talk about. So yeah, that's the premise of this podcast. Is there anything you'd like to add on that, Harry?
To be honest, no. That's pretty much the gist of what we're going to do. As Reese has said, we spend most of our time on a Monday and Tuesday usually complaining about the current WWE product. I think Reese desperately tries to steer it away towards other organisations that have got much better wrestling at the moment, but I'm a bit of a WWE mark, so I'm still firmly with them as my point of access to the wrestling in general. But yeah, we can only hope for the best that this is going to be a blast. Unless, of course, we start talking about 2007 and mostly this Backlash. We have picked a good show to start with.
Yeah, we've got best of both worlds, actually. We've got NXT, which was pretty great, if I don't say so. And I think and Backlash, which was interesting. So, yeah, there you go. I say we just jump straight into it, and we go to the 20th of May, NXT, Takeover Chicago. I've got some notes here just before we start reviewing and going through the matches. Stole this from Meltzer and Alvarez, but of all of the performers on this card, apparently only the Authors of Pain were from the Performance Center.
That sounds about right.
Everyone else had come from either TNA, Indies, or the UK Indies, like the UK gentleman that we'll get to in a moment. Japan, obviously, Asuka. Only those two.
That would make sense, to be fair, because NXT has changed so dramatically in the last few years, where it was literally a development. Oh God,
development.
That's it. There you go. I've had a stroke on it. It's changed from that to being pure like a literal third brand for the WWE to promote and tour with. And obviously they have some very big names. Probably not for the main WWE audience, but you've got Eric Young, who's spent years in TNA, Roderick Strong, Bobby Roode is, champion, Asuka, Kana when she was back in Japan still. But no, NXT is still easily the best brand of the WWE at the moment, as this show has demonstrated. Spoilers, it is a very good show, other than a couple of minor dinks, but we'll get to them.
Apparently it wasn't the sellout, though I'm not entirely sure if that's true.
That's quite bad for Chicago.
Nigel McGuinness is on the show, and he is awesome.
He is, yes. I can only hope and pray that they are building him to become one of the lead commentators for either Raw or SmackDown, similar to Corey Graves. But he is very informative. It's nice to hear a fellow Brit doing so well in the WWE.
He's also like really English as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He doesn't sound like your stereotypical Englishman in America. He's got a kind of really distinct, like kind of odd. I don't actually know where he's from, but you know, he sounds a bit Londony.
He's from there.
You know, we'll find out, or someone will say. But yeah, and just last notes here. During the opening montage, there was a sign in the crowd that stated, "I am the table," which made me laugh.
Good old little cheap pop for Matthew, although that is a good gimmick he's got on the Botchamania.
It is brilliant. One of my favourite parts.
I did have one note as well, just from pre-show. Do you actually watch the pre-show for these particular?
Very rarely.
I mean, NXT is literally just a half-hour build-up package. It's just got hype videos.
Very rarely.
But there was just two minor notes. One was where McGuinness notes that he feels British performers finally have a platform to perform on, and all I was just thinking to myself is Progress and ICW are probably just screaming internally at this point.
Well, I suppose a bigger platform. I mean, both of those organisations have their own online presence with their Demand Progress and, was it ICW World or something? I don't know, or ICW On Demand.
They're both very similar to one another. I think there's like £1 difference between them, or $1 if you're American.
Yeah,
but they are literally use the same platform.
Yeah.
The only other point I had as well, I think it was pre-show, it might have even been on the main show, was where Ember Moon's injury, because obviously the NXT Women's Championship was originally a fatal 4-way, and then she took, I think, a bad dive and landed on her left arm.
Yeah.
I believe they said she's out for 6 months. I don't know if that's gimmicked. I don't know if that's just a work and they'll bring her back quite quick, similar to Strowman.
Quite possibly. You'd hope so, anyway.
That's quite bad for the NXT Women's division. I mean, we're going to get to that, obviously, later on. But
do you want to go through each match? I've got some notes on each match.
Yes.
You've got some.
For our opening bout, it was Roderick Strong versus Eric Young.
I'm a big fan of Eric Young.
I think everyone is, to be fair. He made his debut in NXT ages ago against Samoa Joe as like a one-off.
Yeah.
And then he took about 4 months off, then he was back with Sanity.
That's part of why I'm a big fan. I'm very much like the Sanity stable and the gimmick. I actually think that's something that's really lacking in wrestling right now. But like really good stables, you don't need 20 of them, but you know, just a couple of really good ones. And I think Sanity is up there. Actually, I quite enjoy them.
Yeah, whether or not they'll make that transition, like the Wyatt family before them, to the main roster when they eventually do all graduate, if they do anyway, because Young is a bit long in the tooth. But hopefully, yeah, they are an interesting little aspect of NXT. They're definitely, one of the main watching points of the program. But yeah, this was our opening bout.
Roderick Strong seems quite over with the NXT crowd.
He does. I'll be brutally honest. He did cut a promo earlier, and it was. I know they're basically trying to build him up as like the whole storyline is basically they've messed with him and his family, and he's coming for revenge. He's not had a lot to dish out, but it's not very convincing at all. I don't get the impression that he wants to tear Young and Sanity apart. Obviously, that was completely contradicted by the start of this match, where he sneaks in and basically takes everybody out to a really nice pop, and then the match begins with him having a strong little flurry against Young.
The old Pearl Harbor, as Gorilla Monsoon would say.
Pearl Harbor. I love that.
There was some good. I thought it was quite a strong match to open up the card. There was some really good knee. It seems to be a thing in wrestling at the moment with knee strikes, and I think it comes from Japanese wrestling, especially the way Nakamura used to do it in New Japan. There was some excellent jumping knee strikes from Strong. I thought the match had a really good face vs the heel numbers kind of match. That feel to it.
The only problem I had with the match in terms of the heel with the other guys on the outside was the fact that Strong jumps them on the outside to begin the match. They literally recover within 2 minutes, and he spends the rest of the match basically trying to attack Young, but also taking out the other two. And his beatdown didn't look particularly strong. I mean, it obviously makes Sanity look, especially Dane himself. I mean, he's just a beast.
They seem to be putting quite a lot behind him, actually, don't they?
Absolutely. He's got a very unique image in the WWE.
He was quite good in the Rumble as well.
Oh, you mean the Andre the Giant Rumble? Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, it wasn't the Rumble. You're right. It was the Andre the Giant, wasn't it?
That's it. Yeah, he did. He eliminated Zayn, if I remember.
That was good.
To kill the crowd off. But no, it's a good match. There's a few nice spots. Young hits a particularly good elbow for a nice 2 at one of the later stages.
Mm-hmm.
But as you say, it is a lot of it's a lot of knee strikes, a lot of quick strikes. Obviously, that's how Strong works now.
Yep.
But no, he wins clean as a whistle, and it was clean. But I thought we just lacked a bit of flash, a bit of sizzle, as Vince would say. Sizzle.
Yeah, it was great. Not massively memorable, but I quite enjoyed it. Strong won with the Strong Breaker at 13:42, which is I had to look it up because I heard Nigel McGuinness say what the actual move was, and I thought it was interesting. Suplex release double knee backbreaker.
God, that sounds complicated. But yeah, he won. I'm guessing he must be number 1 contender for the NXT title at this point. I know he's just lost.
I've got an opinion on that later on, but yeah.
Okay, that was fair enough. But no, I mean, he looks good, Strong. Again, I just thought his promo leading up to the packages have been a little bit weak. The match did lack a bit of heat, but from a technical standpoint, thumbs up.
That match was followed by an introduction to JR joining Nigel McGuinness on the commentary desk for the UK title match. Pete Dunne vs Tyler Bate, the champion. I think we're going to probably be quite complimentary to this match.
Just a bit. Yeah. By far, we already had a taster of this during the UK Championship tournament. Mm-hmm. Obviously, both guys were completely, spent. They'd wrestled several matches, but they still had a decent match then. This match, however, just phenomenal. It's easily the best match of the entire weekend of both shows. Not to be biased because we're both British. I mean, it's easy to say Pete Dunne is probably one of the brightest spots in the entire UK scene at the moment. I mean, he was the standout MVP of that tournament, regardless of Tyler Bate winning it and him being himself great. But this match, it's just phenomenal. Dunne is probably, if they book him properly, he could be like something similar to Kevin Owens because he just has the good heel mannerisms. And obviously, he's just a superb little, little wrestler, but he is a good wrestler.
The faces he pulls are just so cartoonish and heelish.
I was about to say, he's literally the little prick bully from school who's now a wrestler. He's 5'10". He'll pull faces. He can get away with just murder. And the problem is, he's just so talented. He's just cannot stand it.
Tyler Bate is 20 and Pete Dunne is 23.
Scary. Makes you question your life choices, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I've got nearly a decade on Tyler Bate, and he's doing what he's doing. He's fucking unreal.
His finisher is depressing, considering it literally is a reminder that he's 10 years younger than us, and he's already the inaugural UK champion, and he's probably one of the most famous wrestlers at this point in the world. But no, this match is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
They're both really over. The match started with a huge bruiserweight chant, which was really cool. You could see Dunne was kind of trying to egg them on, but realising that he's a heel. It was just brilliant all the way through. Especially enjoyed Dunne's heel moves, like how he does his hand and finger manipulation.
Yes, I was about to say, I don't know who will allow that to take place on the main roster if he does get up to like Raw or SmackDown, because would you think like a guy like Roman Reigns will allow his fingers to be fiddled with?
No, but I also don't think you'll ever see Pete Dunne against Roman Reigns, but that's just, I don't think that'll happen.
Never. I mean, the WWE has changed dramatically. I mean, this time 2 years ago, if we were going to say AJ Styles will be in the Royal Rumble and he'll win the WWE title within 9 months of joining, I think we'd say, what drugs are you on? But you never know.
True.
Speaking of that earlier point about his heel tactics, there was a lovely bit where he screams, "Have it!" hits a forearm and then a vertical plunge, and he just gets a pop just for the 2. But it's such a good little moment. He just bollocks him the entire match.
How strong is Tyler Bate as well?
Scary, yeah. He's small in stature compared to other wrestlers on this card, but he's freakish strength.
His delayed Germans are just unreal. Just the way he does it. I've seen him do them in progress on quite a few shows, and I've seen him do even more impressive shows of strength when it comes to suplexes, but it's just so good. This match had quite an indie feel to it. Actually, it wasn't a match where they did not work a WWE style. They worked a style which that would be quite similar to a match if those two fought at a Progress show. It would be very similar to that as well, but maybe with slightly less aggression. There was an absolutely brilliant spot where I think it was Bate standing moonsault. Oh no, that was it. Bate did a standing moonsault. Dunn caught him in a triangle choke, and then in a triangle choke, Tyler Bate picked up Dunn and powerbombed him.
Yes, I've got this. I've got this note on it. Yeah,
it was fantastic. And then the thing about that as well is that led into an airplane spin.
I've got this exact note. Yeah,
I've never ever seen an airplane spin actually be close to gaining a pinfall, and that got a close fall. That got a really close 2 count.
Yeah, he caught the crowd by surprise just for a 2, but I mean,
watch it
the
back.
speed he goes at with that. I mean, it's a helicopter spin really because he's on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Just I don't know how many
pedant synonymous, but
literally hit him with the one-arm gut wrench slam. Yeah, terrifying. Yeah, absolutely great little spot. He did caught the crowd by complete surprise because obviously it's a comedy spot. Yeah, but he does it at such speed that it's like, oh, he might actually, he's probably off his equilibrium.
Yep.
He's got a chance, and that's followed by what I mentioned earlier, the Habit forearm, and then the vertical plunge by Dunn himself.
Yeah. So after that, there was a spot with a really good spot where Dunn goes to hit the bitter end. Bate reverses that into a DDT. That was a lovely reversal. And then obviously whilst they're both on the floor selling, the Smark crowd in Chicago are chanting "Fight Forever," followed by "Holy shit." And quite cool, got some very loud UK chants.
Yes, I did mention that. We've ascended to the American status, which is fantastic. It's a testament to these two talents and the UK scene in general, because our batch of wrestlers at the moment, they're probably for the size, the catchment size of talent in this country. There's just most of them are really good. And no fair fucks to these two. They really did put on a great show.
So leading to the finish, there was a really good spot where Bate gave Dunn a moonsault to the outside, which he then threw Dunn back in, gave him a 450 corkscrew for a close 2. That was a really good passage. And then we had the big Undertaker at WrestleMania dive over the top rope to land on the floor spot, which gave Dunn the opening to chuck Bate inside, hit his bitter end, and win the contest at 15:27. I don't think there has been a better 15 minutes, certainly not in the WWE this year. I think it's definitely a match of the year candidate in WWE, and I find it quite difficult to come up with a match that was clearly better than this.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, again, biased, but this is by far the best match this entire weekend. The title is elevated to feel massive. I mean, Bate, to be fair, he has defended the title in NXT, but Dunn was literally, crown prince. He was literally waiting for or heir apparent, I should say, is the better term for it. He was by far the big MVP of that tournament. I'm ecstatic that he's got it, and I can only hope that there's a rubber match this summer where, they've got one each. They both won the title from each other, technically. I mean, obviously, Bate won it, the inaugural champion. Dunn has won it from him. I can only hope and pray that these two have got another match. But yeah,
I imagine Fantastic. They will. It just comes down.
They'd be stupid not to, which would imply that they're definitely not going to do it. They'll probably ship Bate with a tag team with Gallagher to 205, and then Dunn will feud with Wolfgang or someone, which is still good. But I hope there's Bill.
Well, I think the plan it still is, and I think this match has certainly strengthened the idea that there will be a weekly network show which is just the UK. So it won't be specials. It won't be the UK Championship specials. It will be a WWE UK weekly show, along the same lines as Next. They'll probably do one big taping session or over a weekend or something for 10 episodes. And I still think that's the plan. And I think actually having Dunn as the champion now strengthens that idea, because I think it would be a really good idea to open that show with plucky face Bates chasing his title. I just hope that I think Pete Dunne's character needs no work. I think he's doing stellar work. I'd quite like to see Bate add to his character. If he can replicate his Progress persona in WWE, I think that would be really good for him. Obviously, he's a bit more heelish in Progress, so I don't mean that entirely. But I
was literally about to say they're a stable, aren't they, in Progress with
British Strong Style, yeah, with Trent Seven. So him and Seven are the tag champs, and Dunn is actually the world champ in Progress, or the Progress champ. But I think he needs to move on from his clearly old-fashioned moustached man or childlike man waving at the crowd. It's quite funny, but at least they did give him new music, so he hasn't got his music before his entrance music before this match was appalling, and now it's not as bad. But yeah,
wasn't it that was made outside before a CFO got their hands on it? So.
No idea. Yeah,
I think so anyway.
But yeah, it was brilliant, and my match of the night.
Yes, yeah, by far. Yeah, go see this match. It's superb.
What was next?
It is the NXT Women's Championship, a triple threat between Ruby Riott against Nikki Cross and defending champion Asuka. Okay. Well, Asuka, if you're William Regal.
Asuka.
No, it's Asuka. It's Asuka. That's it. I got it right.
Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah. Obviously, this was originally a fatal four-way, and now we have a scenario or triple threat. You're right in the back.
Yep. Creaky chair.
Oh, fair enough. Obviously, we know it's all gone tits up. You can hear me in the background.
Hang on. God, I'll edit this bit out. Go. Start from now.
Okay, so originally this was booked as a fatal four-way, and then Ember Moon was injured. So we've now got a triple threat match where one of our combatants we know very little about, and Nikki Cross has only been in a handful of, I think, squash matches. So for the last couple of weeks, NXT have been building up, just doing some promo packages on Ruby Riott. She comes out, and to be fair to them, she was the clear favourite with the crowd. But then I made this note, and then as soon as the stare down happened, we got a chant of Asuka's going to kill you. So that's completely redundant. Asuka is still massively over, despite the fact that they have tweaked her character several times during this massive title reign. The start, predominantly, and this is going to be the story of the entire match, it's Riott versus Cross. I got the impression that, despite the fact Asuka is the champion, she is a third wheel in a program between Riott and Nikki Cross.
Interesting. I
mean, to be fair, there was some, triple spots, but not many of them.
I was actually going to mention that. There was a moment, there was a passage in the match. There's a good 5-6 minutes of a 12-minute match where someone would get dumped to the outside. They would stay out there for about 2 minutes, come in, someone else would get dumped to the outside. It seems as though they didn't run through anything like triple threaty. There was no double teaming stuff. It was really quite. It was a lot of one-on-ones with someone selling on the outside, which was interesting. You also had that spot where I believe it was Nikki Cross put Asuka behind the apron. And kicked her a bit. Yeah, that was an interesting spot, but it was odd again. I didn't think the finish was all that good. I thought that led to quite a flat crowd reaction as well. Yeah,
I was literally going to get to. I mean, there was a bad transition spot. Asuka hits a super drop kick on Cross, but she crash lands on Riott. And at first, when I saw it, I thought, "Oh, that's bad." But then realised Riott rolled out to the outside. I was like, so was that predetermined? Because it looked quite rough. The other problem with this match, Asuka does wrestle. She does wrestling moves, even like bare ones. But Cross and Riott, their match consists mostly of just strikes, just kicks,
brawling,
chops, brawling. I mean, to be fair, right, does hit a Hurricanrana and Asuka at one point.
That was quite good. I thought that was quite good, that Hurricanrana.
Yeah, not too bad. But and then she hits a middle rope tope on Asuka again. You can obviously tell who's been training with who in this match. But again, three quarters is doing it no justice. Probably like 5/6 of this entire match is Cross versus Riot. And then obviously we get the finish. I mean, a bit of a
double pin.
Yeah. I've literally got, I wrote down, Asuka wins by pinning both ladies to barely any reaction. I love her, but fuck, that's brutal.
Yeah, so she wins with, I've got it, a running knee off the ropes at 12 minutes, 30 seconds. It was a bit of an odd one. Yeah,
obviously Asuka continues to tween in victory. You know, she can basically play heel and face depending on who her opponent is. But it just, the women's division, I mean, it's ever since the women's revolution, or whatever they want to, what do they call it? Is it Divas Revolution or Women's Revolution?
It was the Women's Revolution.
I had to make sure.
The whole idea was that they dropped the word diva.
That's right. Ever since the four horsewomen, that's even worse, isn't it? Ever since they graduated from NXT, the women's division on NXT has suffered tremendously. Having Asuka, to be fair, she is leagues above everyone else in that division, but having her basically pin both at the same time, I don't know what to suggest. I
think it's clearly set up that Ember Moon will actually beat her and dethrone her.
Yeah, because I imagine the original plan must have been they thought, we'll get 3 matches. Asuka will beat her first time. Moon will beat her for the title second time.
Without pinning her?
I'd say pinning her.
What, in a if they did Fatal 4, you think that they would have had her pin Asuka?
I think, because then they could have splintered it off and say, right, Riot and Cross have to have their own match, and then Asuka and Ember Moon can have their, final rubber match for the title separate.
Maybe,
then, build up for the summer. But obviously, if she's actually legitimately gone for 6 months, who can logically take the title from her? Because are they actually going to have Asuka hold the title till possibly Christmas? Or will they, they've got the Mae Young tournament coming up. Will they bank on, will they build someone up from there, like Shirai? Or, what? There's literally no one else. You've got Liv Morgan and several others. Peyton Royce as well, Billie Kay. Again, they've had their chance, and they've already crashed. So, Asuka's great. She's by far the most competently booked woman in the entire, all WWE at this point. But there is no one who can honestly, take that title without some sort of bollocks behind it. But, this match just a bit of a letdown.
Yeah. I remember, a year or two ago when an NXT Takeover would come about, and the women's match was the match I was probably looking forward to the most.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know Nikki Cross that well. I don't really know Ruby Riott that well. Ember Moon, I remember from Orlando weekend, that NXT card, that was a decent match. But
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of an almost forgotten division at the moment.
Yeah, it's been in a transitional period since the 4 ladies graduated to Raw and SmackDown. But it's how long is this going to last? Because obviously you've got quite a esteemed title with a really good title holder, but she has no one to face. But I can only hope that this women's tournament will, jumpstart something. Get some good competitors in. They have signed Shirai, so can only hope that leads to something.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we then move on to the not the main event, the NXT Championship match between Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami, aka Kenta, aka the inventor of Daniel Bryan's flying knee, CM Punk's GTS. Well, they're all his, but made popular by. I remember being quite excited when Kenta signed for the WWE.
Yeah, same here. Him and Finn, or
him and
Devitt at the time.
Devitt, yeah, at the same time. It was kind of cool.
It was a big acquisition, and then you have to remember Owens had just signed as well around the same time as well. It literally was the three of them. Massive acquisition for NXT, and it basically led to this lovely little golden period of a year, which is sadly, I mean, even with Nakamura's just gone as well. But Hideo Itami, he's been injured for most of his run in NXT.
Pretty bad injuries as well. Which
I mean, to be fair, these aren't minor things. Yeah, that's true. They'd be stupid to rush him.
The scar on his left shoulder is there for you to see from surgery he had on, I think it's a dislocated shoulder, and it's. I mean, I feel it's ghastly to look at. Yeah, he's had a pretty bad time of injuries. So yeah, I was glad to see him back and in a fairly high-profile match. Yes. I've got a few notes here. Bobby Roode absolutely loves his gimmick.
His Nature Boy gimmick, but to be fair, he's come leaps and bounds. I mean,
I think he's great.
His music is fantastic, and his entrance as well.
Who was that theme initially created for?
I know this. It's Nakamura.
Nakamura was going to have the glorious. I cannot imagine
gimmick. That working at all. I mean, Nakamura's theme's great, but Rude. I mean, it's the best Queen song released in the past 20 years.
He said no to it, Nakamura, and then they said, I think they just gave it to Rude. He's brilliant. With his entrance is fun. I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, it was a bit stripped back this time, but they showed the chords and the notes of the piano on the screen when he was coming out, and it looked something out of Guitar Hero or Rocksmith. I thought it was a nice little touch. His entrances have been really good for the past couple of shows. He's, as you say, he is someone who absolutely adores his gimmick, and rightfully so. He's by far one of the most distinct characters on the brand at the moment. But I did think with this match he was favourite.
Yeah, there was no way in a million years I thought Itami was going to win the match. I was kind of just hoping he would put on a good performance so that he would be involved in future high-profile matches. Yeah, I'm not sure if he achieved that, but no, it was. I thought it was a good match. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was good. I thought the selling was really good.
Yeah, it was a good showcase of how to actually sell in a match, because obviously the story of the match was Rude's shoulder being injured. Yeah, which was a bit weird because it meant the heel is working with an injury, which is usually it's the other way around. And then obviously it became a double injury spot when Itami hurt his ankle when he missed the drop kick on the steel steps. So both men spent at least a quarter of the match basically completely knackered at one another.
Yeah. Itami hit a GTS in Chicago. I think that was probably the most telegraphed spot of the whole night, and it was good. It was cool. I mean, it is a good spot. It's a great move, and you had the obvious Rude slithering away by rolling under the ropes. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it wasn't particularly memorable, which is a shame.
No, it had similar problems with Rude and Nakamura previously. It's just I can get why Rude wrestles the way he does. He's heel. He can't obviously break out tons of massive spots and stuff because otherwise the crowd will cheer for him. I mean, he has enough problems as it is where the crowd absolutely adores him, even though he's the antithesis of NXT. Yeah. He literally is desperate to make it into a massive brand as opposed to the developmental system that it currently is. But it was a good match considering that it was heavily based on injury angles.
Yep.
But it did earn a "This is boring" chant, I noticed.
Did it actually? You're right.
It did, yes. I heard it very faintly. I wrote a note saying, typical Rude flow, Chinlock City. Hideo hits some strikes, earns a "This is boring" chant. I don't know if it's just a case of the crowd literally got restless because it is too many headlocks and chinlocks by Rude. But that was when obviously they started working in the double injury spot, and then Itami's ankle gave up for a GTS, and then Rude hit his glorious. Is it the glorious DDT? Isn't it, or glorious elevated DDT?
Yeah, he hit two of them. So he hit it, and then he rolled into another one.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, he hit it for a 2, and then the time he finally hit the GTS, but he just rolled out, and the crowd were very annoyed with it.
So Rude won at 17:34 with a glorious DDT.
It was 2.
It was all right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. I I think this is clearly a stopgap match. I think Drew McIntyre is going to be the one who takes the belt off of Rude.
Yeah, I actually made a notice. I said, whilst Rude retains and has several opponents lined up, including McIntyre, Black, and Roderick Strong, where does Itami go from here? Obviously, I didn't see the aftermath where he has a slight disagreement, I guess, with Cassius Ohno.
Yeah, no,
I thought
that'd be good, I think.
I thought maybe Itami could turn heel in the future, but the crowd is really not as big into him as you'd expect. I mean, he has been off an awful long time, and a lot of people have passed him. I mean, obviously Finn and Owens and Zayn all disappeared, and Nakamura literally went and was been and gone by the time he's come back.
Well, he was signed as the Japanese superstar who's going to elevate next, and whilst he was injured, and Nakamura was the Japanese superstar that elevated next. So.
Yeah, exactly. But the match is okay. As you say, it is a stopgap. There's some nice spots, but it did earn Alyssa's boring chant, which is that's death for anybody. But I think they'll look at that more as Hideo's fault, unfortunately, as opposed to it being a combined effort. But it's an all right match.
Yeah,
nothing special.
And that then led into the main event, which was a ladder match for the NXT tag titles, Authors of Pain.
That's the first time as well, wasn't it? The first ever ladder match for the tag team titles.
The tag titles, yeah. I think the first it's been two, because they did Neville vs Bo Dallas was a ladder match when Neville won that title.
And when Bo Dallas was relevant.
Yeah, and I think was Owens and Balor a ladder match?
Yes, that was at
Brooklyn,
I think. Yes, and Owens wrestled the night after at SummerSlam. What a trooper.
This match was pretty great.
Yeah, I've just realised, obviously we were gushing completely over the UK Championship, but this match itself was really good. Yeah, the tag team titles seem very good at the moment. I mean, obviously the Revival have just graduated and then have been... I mean, who's in the Revival? Is Dash or... Dawson.
Revival, yeah. One of them, yeah.
Which is a shame. But the tag team division looks quite good at the moment, but this match especially, it was very good.
Yeah, there was a sign in the crowd that said Authors of Poop, which I thought was very, very funny. There was a really good spot when I think it was Gargano jumped through the ropes, through the ladder, to a dive spot. That was cool.
It looked safe as well.
Yeah.
I made a note of that. It said Gargano dives through the said big ladder, which was set up on the outside. Looks safe as as. Very easy.
The dives off the ladder. So when the Authors of Pain was set up on the other ladders and Ciampa and Gargano were on the top of the big ladder and they did those dives, that over shot by Gargano was absolutely awful.
Yeah, I've wrote down obviously, because the rules of wrestling are if you set up anything, you are going through it. Yep. Obviously, the Authors of Pain set up the ladders on the apron and were doomed from the start. They sink kicked the pair, which meant they landed quite softly on the ladders. They then climbed a massive ladder, which Gargano dived through previously. Yeah, and as you say, at least Ciampa managed to break his ladder, but even they both neck it almost. It looked horrible.
I suppose this match needs that element of danger to add to it, and obviously these spots always happen, but Christ, it was so bad. It was like his top of his legs actually is what connects with the guy on the ladder, and Jesus, it was just...
It was a stupid spot. It looked bad. It was just stupid. I mean, Jeff Hardy, like a pro at WrestleMania, he showed he had two ladders set by one another, goes back first, which means he's literally landing on his back. There's nowhere really to slip off. And even that, I mean, he went through Cesaro, and if I remember, Sheamus rolled off trying to say that the impact was there. But this, I mean, you need a bigger landing surface. Just get tables. Just get 3 tables, put them on top. Just go for it to break the fall. This, I mean, both guys could have so badly injured themselves doing it. Yeah. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. There was a really cool suplex spot as well. That was off the ladder. That was excellent. Yeah, it was a really good match. There was obviously this foreshadows the end of the show, but the spot where Johnny pushed Ciampa out the way.
Yeah, to stop him getting decapitated.
Oh my God! And then got decapitated himself with.
I thought he took it well, and then they show the replay, and he actually does take it on the chin, which means either the ladder is gimmicked or he got clumped.
So horrible. Really good. It was slightly reminiscent of, what was his name? The guy who had his face broken, basically, by the Hardys.
You're thinking of Joey Mercury.
Yeah, Christ.
Something out of a horror movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
a nice little flashback of that. Although that was, I think, if I remember correctly, that was something to do with a table.
Oh no, that was definitely a ladder spot. I'm sure of it.
Oh no, you're right. No, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
It was the ladder sprung up when Jeff Hardy does a dive from the top. I think it was a leg drop. Matt holds both Eminem in place. The ladder springs up, catches Mercury in the face, and his orbital socket in his nose just it looks like his face has exploded.
Yeah,
Nice 2006 memory there.
Yeah. That was well, I'm assuming he was all right. So it looked like it was a well executed decapitation spot. And then so Authors of Pain win the match by retrieving the belts at 20 minutes on the dot. Obviously, the big story of this match is what happened afterwards. We got the old logo, the old All Rights Reserved logo in the corner, which is usually when you switch the television off or you turn the network off, so because you know it's about to finish. But they did do this with I'm sure they did this with Zayn and Owens as well. So when people were saying, oh, they put the logo on, then they bait and switched, I'm sure they did it with that spot, and it worked perfectly then as well.
To lull you into a false sense of security, and then the heartbreak.
So Ciampa turns on his best friend, DIY are no more. He gave him a right good beating as well.
It was. I was about to say well deserved, but it absolutely wasn't. I screamed no like a. It was like being a kid again. It was heartbreaking, just that bad it was. I mean, obviously, they had a little moment during the Cruiserweight tournament last year where both had a match, and Ciampa he lost that match and he just looked angry, but they both made up at the end. I would love it if they allude to that as well.
What's his Psycho Killer? Is his actual?
Psycho Killer.
That's his singles gimmick, right?
Yeah.
So both of these guys I think they're quite well known as singles from the indies in the Chicago area, so that's why they're over anyway, but they were really over during this event. I'm really looking forward to this feud. I think it's going to be really good. I don't watch an awful lot of American indie stuff, mainly because if I can't go and watch it in person, I kind of can't get into it. Unlike obviously the booming British indie scene, which is very accessible. So I know of Johnny Wrestling, and I know he was pretty much before the Cruiserweight Classic regarded as one of the top independent wrestlers in the world, or in America certainly. And I'm really looking forward to this very obvious heel and face feud that really, if they booked it right, has some serious legs in it for the next 6 months. I think it'd be really, really good if you can get that really good blood feud in NXT. Maybe some gimmick matches towards the end. I think it'd be really cool, and I think that's definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, it could be a potential feud of the summer. It's not too much build. Obviously, as I mentioned before, it had the Cruiserweight moment, but the team have been. I mean, as I said before, it was shocking. And the beatdown afterwards, I mean, it was brutal. I mean, Gargano himself, I mean, they could push him as I was going to say underdog, but he's actually quite an accomplished wrestler. So, but no, I was just going to go back to the match as well because I thought we skimmed over it. It was a very good match, the tag team match. There was a few squash elements. Obviously, they need to make the AOP look very good.
Are they very good though?
Ellering's good. Ellering's great. AOP are a good monster team. I'm just concerned that we had the Ascension, and they have. I mean, at the moment, the best thing for the Ascension would be to basically do the gimmick they had for Southpaw Wrestling, or whatever it was called. But they're an okay team. Obviously, DIY imploding. What does that leave us with? That would be Heavy Machinery, and because TM61 are still injured or they're out.
Yep.
Heavy Machinery are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is there left? I feel really bad for saying this because obviously NXT's tag team division was such a massive thing.
Yeah,
but who could realistic? Unless they bring someone down to feud with them. But
see that happening. People would probably take their pink slips other than go to be sent down.
But yeah, it's a very good ladder match. Don't get me wrong. But the aftermath is the bread and butter of this particular match. They got the crowd, they got me, so I cannot wait to see what happens between Gargano and Ciampa.
Yep, me too. And that rounds off NXT Takeover Chicago. There was just one more thing I wanted to add, actually, before we end this segment, and that is JR on commentary for the UK title match was awesome, and it's great to see him get the kind of ovation he gets in Chicago, especially big town for him. He always gets a big pop there. And obviously, JR and McGuinness together are an excellent team because they obviously respect each other. I mean, who doesn't respect JR? But, there's no... when you watch SmackDown, and more SmackDown because of the likes of JBL and his style, but the kind of interrupting that always happens when they talk over each other and the
uncomfortable silence.
Yeah, and it's, when you watch Raw and SmackDown, sometimes you get the feeling that they're actually trying to get one over on each other. They're trying to rib each other during it. Yeah. And people make mistakes quite often, and you always hear the sarcastic comments being made. Like JR, every time JR was talking, every time Nigel McGuinness was talking, they were just letting each other. They weren't interrupting each other's air. Really, really good commentating, and it kind of was annoying because you kind of watched it. JR comes out, has this great 15-minute match. It adds, obviously, to it being a great match as well. The commentary always does add to the match. Take away JR's commentary of Mankind and Undertaker in the cell, and it's no, but it's different. It's so horrible. It's horrible anyway, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I thought that was a really good touch, and if he's going to be, him and McGuinness are going to do more UK themed stuff, then I really, really hope that they pull the trigger on the weekly network show sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. And with JR there and McGuinness, it gives it a bit more brand distinction as opposed to NXT. I was literally about to say, do you remember anything Percy Watson said during it? I know he's new to commentary, but he didn't really... I
mean, seriously, I know. It was nothing. I seriously miss Corey Graves as well on NXT. I think he's done really well.
I think Tom's fine. He's fine. Obviously, they're grooming him to be a replacement for Cole at some point because he's been with the company for over 20 years at this point. This is
the same gentleman who likes to text message other women, correct?
Yeah. What people do in their spare time is nothing to do with the product in this sleazy world of professional wrestling. It's always been like this.
Say that to Paige, but
wait until when will it be 2027 when we can talk about the 10th anniversary of the Page event?
Oh Christ, I don't want to.
Fucking Del Rio hunt us down and put us into fucking arm locks.
Yeah,
but we're getting sidetracked.
Okay, so one question: your match of the night.
Match of the night is obviously the UK Championship match. Superb from beginning to end. Match of the weekend. I mean, obviously the NXT Tag Team Title ladder match was great on its own, but this for a one-on-one wrestling match with a clear heel, a clear face, with a belt that actually does feel very important, which is brand new. You can't go wrong with it. It's just great action from beginning to end.
I always think that because the belt looks so good, that's what makes it feel important, because the actual prize that they're fighting for actually looks like you want it. You want it, right? I want that belt. I'd buy a I wouldn't buy a replica because they cost shitloads. But, it's a very cool belt. And yeah, it was.
A Universal title with that very nice, red... horrifying looking
no thank you.
Someone spent hours, minutes maybe coming together with that terrible design.
Telling you right now, no one spent hours on that belt. No way.
What if we just swapped it for red? Oh, that's great. You get more stock, Paul. That's fine.
There you go.
I'm not saying he designed it. It's just I think SummerSlam speaks volumes. No one is happy with that belt. I'd just stated it. I can only hope they'll get it rebranded. But anyway, NXT. The show, what did you think of the show overall?
Well, it was NXT Takeover. They're very rarely bad. I thought it was good. Women's match I thought was a bit meh. Rude Army was a bit meh overall, though it was still an enjoyable match. Ladder match, Bait and Dunn were excellent, and the strong young match was okay. So I think, was it 2 out of 5 matches that were great? I suppose that leads to it being a medium to good show.
Yeah, I wrote on it. I mean, I did write quite a comprehensive review of it, but I mostly covered that during our discussion here. The only point I made at the end was, whilst NXT is still in the same lull since last year's brand split completely depleted their roster, its bright sparks still make it the most consistently entertaining wrestling show from the WWE. It just needs a bit of tweaking, that's all, especially with the women's division and other bits and pieces. But yeah, it's compared to what we're going to be talking about next, it's definitely the better show of the two.
No, can't argue with that. And that is our NXT Takeover review. Okay, so next was Saturday, and Sunday was Backlash, which is a SmackDown branded pay-per-view. I have some notes like I did for NXT. I keep saying next, then I say NXT.
I was going to say you're going to be overdubbing yourself the entire episode if you start changing. I didn't want to correct you because I thought, am I the stupid one?
It's
NXT.
It's NXT, so I'm going to do that. Anyway, we're not talking about it anymore, so I don't have to say it. So, according to Meltzer, before they announced the card, when they simply said, "We are returning to the Allstate Arena in Chicago," they sold 85% of the tickets available, including all of the quite expensive $500 ringside ones. When the card was announced, until obviously the night of the match, it did not sell out. It was not a sellout in Chicago.
That's bad again.
And Meltzer kind of insinuated, I think, I could be wrong, I don't want to put words in his mouth, that it was, the card didn't impress. And I suppose you can say, does that reflect on Jinder? But obviously we can talk about that in a bit. But, and obviously our first match of the night was Nakamura jerking the curtain with Dolph Ziggler.
Yes, I put that on the pre-show notes when they announced it. I said Nakamura and Ziggler opening first. Fuck.
Yeah. So what did you think of this match then?
I had high hopes for this. I thought it would be something similar to Nakamura and Zayn in NXT, and I was completely wrong. It was a much slower affair where Ziggler basically was the more offensive of the two. And Nakamura just got a few big spots in, showed off his moves, and managed to, I would dare say, scrape a win against the two-time world champion.
Yeah, it was a weird match. It was kind of like the first 5 minutes of the match was kind of Nakamura seemed to be playing with him. Then Dolph Ziggler basically beat him up for the next 8 minutes.
Yep.
There was a really long headlock spot, which was just horrible.
Good thing to have that in the first match as well. That'll kill the crowd.
It turned
expert booking there.
It turned into quite a slow match. I can't for the life of me think that they booked it and they run the match through to be a showcase for Nakamura, because it certainly wasn't.
Well, that's the thing. NXT kind of it's an oxymoron. It's like, obviously it's this is going to be my recurring thing. I cannot pronounce
developmental.
Thank you, Reese. It's a system where the wrestlers are supposed to be built up, and then they get announced to WWE's main roster, and they're massive. You've heard all these things about NXT, but we've already seen everything Nakamura can do from either Japan, or either on the independent circuit, or in NXT itself. So we already know everything about him. So is it a case of...
The idea is that we do, but for some... maybe it's true, but I think sometimes they aim these wrestlers and these matches at a what they perceive to be a large group of people that have never seen him before because they don't watch NXT. They've never seen a match in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, there is a big difference in audiences. I think they sort of, again, we're going back to Meltzer, where it's 200,000 on average watch NXT on the network, and then you've got to multiply that by at least 10 for live WWE programming. So it's possible.
But remember, they're in Chicago. Chicago know exactly who he is.
It's a wrestling city.
This could have been absolutely Nakamura's first match in WWE in general, and they would have been... He was over as fuck. They purposely did that big gap between entrances to build up the pop for him as well, and he got a pretty good... Yeah. He got a good... he got a good pop. Yeah, it was just weird. The finishing sequence was odd. You know, he spat in Nakamura's face, and he just
seemed to wake him up. Yeah,
and he kneed the shit out of him for 2 minutes, and then he hit him with the knee when he was on the outside, when he was hung up on the ropes. He kneed him, and then he came into the ring and he gave him. It was the Bomier in Japan. It's now the
Kinshasa.
At 15 minutes, 50 seconds.
I would almost dare say this match was a vehicle for Paul. I mean, I love Ziggler, but I almost felt like, well, you had Nakamura, but we had Dolph Ziggler. He's at least on level playing field on him. Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just thought it was a very odd match. Yeah.
Flop. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was followed by a Breezango skit when they're in the fashion police department or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's a Law and Order parody in 2017. So
I find their current gimmick very funny.
I do. As I've mentioned this to you on WhatsApp, it's a comedy gimmick in a title match.
They've been getting quite a lot of good press though out of this.
They've been around for donkey's years. I mean, donkey's years, nearly 2 years, haven't they? Since Breeze graduated.
Yeah, from his very promising career in NXT to nothing on the main roster.
To be fair, I mean, we didn't go through pre-show. Obviously, we missed out on Dillinger and English, but that was an alright match. But Booker T was talking about everyone in this match except Breeze. He had respect for Fandango. He loves the Usos because obviously he trained with them. But he basically said about Fandango, he'll be glad when he's done with this fashion police nonsense. And it was like, ouch. That's brutal. But I still like Breeze. I think he's got a good few years ahead of him if he can just.
Well, I think he's doing quite well with this. I liked it when he came out mopping the apron, dressed as the grandma. I thought it was quite. I'll be honest. I laughed at this. I thought it was quite funny. I'm not a huge fan of comedy in these comedic matches, especially when there's a title, as you say, on the line.
On pay-per-view as well.
It was a bit too silly for that kind of match. I thought the Usos did quite well with it. I'm not a fan of the Usos at all, but I thought I think
that's a discredit. Ever since they've turned heel, they've been very good.
I know, but they didn't no-sell any. They no-sold the kind of. They didn't join in or anything. It was quite funny. Or when they did join in, like the spot when, well, God knows which one it was. They ran at him and he dodged, and then they fell over his mop. I thought that was quite funny. I thought Fandango, when he was in the ring and he was on offense, and I thought he was quite good. I actually thought that there was a promise. And I'll be honest, Jericho always says to the Smarks on Twitter when they slag him off for jobbing to Fandango at Mania that year, they're like, oh, you should never have done that, and he always just says, you obviously don't understand the business. I don't think he's the kind of guy that would job to just someone who he didn't perceive to be a good wrestler, and I think he obviously is a good wrestler. He did some very good moves. The dancing thing is a bit old, but his song is still over.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That bit towards the end when he hit the flip dive over the top rope, landed on both Usos, safe as anything, safe as house's spot, landed on his feet. Then he got a double super kick, or he got a super kick to lose the match at 9 minutes 15 seconds. It was okay, but it could have been better.
I would say this was not a pay-per-view caliber match.
No, you're right. But you must like you realise that since the network has hit a fairly healthy amount of subscribers, they do not book pay-per-views the same way they used to book them. They are now continuations of the television shows in a lot of ways, and they use them more to set up angles or to continue angles as opposed to being the blow-off, which is obviously
the TNA style of booking. Television means everything. Pay-per-view is no longer our bread and butter.
No, and it's because they have, is it almost 2 million subscribers now, paying $9.99 or whatever. They've got, some good money coming in on that. And I don't think they feel the need to cater for what is now an incredibly small pay-per-view market for them.
That's true.
Yeah. And it's weird that they do that, because obviously things like UFC prove that obviously a different sport but a very similar demographic. UFC with proper build like a McGregor or something can get an awful lot of buys and make a lot of money. So yeah, it's weird that we have matches like this on the card. But yeah, it was. I found it mostly enjoyable due to the comedy.
Yeah, I don't mind comedy in my wrestling. Obviously, I'm not a massive purist who only deals with shoot spots and other bits and pieces. I like all four of these guys. I think Usos, again, as mentioned before, ever since they turned heel, they've been probably the standout tag team on SmackDown. They definitely should have the titles. My only highlight of the match was when one of the Usos, I think it might have been Jay, I apologise if that's wrong, he threw Breeze's dress and hit JBL. JBL made a joke which made everyone cry, but I was too distracted because the crowd immediately jumped into Fire Bradshaw chants. So
that was quite funny.
Yeah, 2 months later, it's still happening, even though there's no confirmation that anything that was alluded to is true, even though obviously JBL was a massive cunt. But
well, quite, yes. I think I think confirmation or not on the Ronaldo thing, there is no smoke without fire on JBL, but that's another discussion for another time, I think.
Yeah, we'll get into it one day.
So we went from that match to the Sami Zayn Baron Corbin match.
I forgot this was actually going to be on pay-per-view. I think it's a shame. I really like both of these guys, and I just forgot it was happening.
Yeah, I just have no idea what they're doing with Sami Zayn, or I don't know if it's because they don't know what to do, or they're trying to emulate the plucky babyface, loses all the time, but he's going to get over with the crowd Daniel Bryan thing, which was obviously purely organic and based off of a few years of gimmick work, but they think that they can book that. That's what I believe, that they're trying to book Zayn in that manner. And Baron Corbin, who I think actually has an awful lot of potential, and I think he's got a good look. I quite like him. I liked that next run when he just squashed people for weeks on end. I just thought that was the really good old school way of booking someone to be a monster. They did it with Braun as well on Raw. And then
who was the other guy? He squashed Corbin. He's no longer there. And then he had the exercise gimmick. I can't even remember his name now. Isn't that depressing? I've actually forgot his name. I'm really sorry.
But and I just think both of these people aren't being booked great, but I think this booking that they're going with now is to lead. I think they're going to try and book Corbin to be quite a big deal around this time next year, maybe even WrestleMania.
Well, he's already got a big accolade underneath him. He did win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal last year, not this year, obviously.
Yeah, but so did Cesaro, but they did nothing with him, really.
That's true. That's
the only notes I have on this match really are I thought Zayn sold quite well, as he always does. He is the best person on that roster for taking a beating.
I thought he was actually hurt. Obviously, with SmackDown, I mean, we're not talking about SmackDown today because it's just been on, but I thought he was actually hurt. It was only because he kept doing... It was only my logical part of my brain was like, he keeps doing spots that obviously will really hurt his back. So he obviously isn't hurt, but I was engrossed. I actually did think he was legitimate. So thumbs up. The selling.
I thought it was okay. It was largely a bit slow and boring.
I disagree. I thought the match had a bit of pace to it, to be fair. I mean, Corbin's matches, he's not limited, but they're trying to book him in a way where his spots do mean something. And obviously Zayn is the total opposite, where he does everything in his power to try and gain the upper hand, and he just never gets it fully. So I was actually quite engrossed by this match. But obviously the crowd, and yourself included, and most people I've heard, didn't think much of it, which is a shame. I thought both were really good.
Yeah. And obviously Zayn won with a Helluva Kick at 14:35. It is worth mentioning, actually, that SmackDown was last night, and they did have a rematch last night, and Zayn beat him with a roll-up in a matter of seconds, and then received an absolute hiding. So he's now 2-0 over Corbin in these big matches, and begs the question of where this feud's going to go, because that's the other thing. Corbin seems to, it's like with Dean Ambrose prior to WrestleMania, he beat the crap out of him most weeks. I mean, he dropped, what was it? He put the forklift pallet on him and broke his ribs at kayfabe, obviously. But yeah, so he's obviously smashed the shit out of Zayn after this roll-up loss last night. I've got no idea where this is going.
I mean, you say Zayn is the underdog with the booking and they're trying to emulate Bryan, but it's weird that Corbin is sort of similar, where he dominates but never gets the victories. He always gets either screwed out of something, or he just gets, the other combatant has, just scraped something. I mean, this one was a bit more conclusive. I mean, obviously, this match, Zayn hit the Helluva Kick. I mean, it was out of nowhere, obviously, for the clean free. There was no shenanigans involved. But again, with Corbin, it's like they're obviously trying to keep other people strong, but himself just as strong without him having to fully job. But no, again, but I thought the match was fine. I thought it was actually probably better than the previous two, including the pre-show one.
Yeah. So this match was followed by the welcoming committee against Charlotte, Naomi, and Becky Lynch.
With James Ellsworth dressed as the biggest fuckboy on the entire planet. I mean, he comes out first and calls the crowd sausages, and I just pissed myself.
Yeah,
like,
he was sausages.
He is a good heel. You're all sausages. Laughs at his own jokes. He nearly lost his voice talking. I thought, great heel.
I'm still quite stoked for him. I find.
Yeah. Absolutely won't have him beat AJ ever again, or even get anywhere close. But
people made such a big deal of that. I still think it was just quite good booking towards the Ambrose and AJ match, but
they mentioned it on pre-show, like he is literally one of the only people to beat AJ Styles 3 times, and it's like, that is so fucking strange to say it out loud. But no, I still think Ellsworth, I don't know how long he's got, but at the moment his work with Carmella has been top notch. I am enjoying it.
Well, he's got a year's salary, so he was so I didn't know this really, but apparently he was a bit of a deathmatch indie guy as well. He used to do a lot of hardcore spots.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, so I might actually try and check some of that out, because it just look a bit weird. I'll be honest, I've got very, very little notes on this match. I tuned out. I just couldn't get into this match at all.
Yeah, same here.
I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of when they do these 6-man or 6-women tag matches. Like the WrestleMania one where they all basically hit one spot each, and then I think Alexa tapped to Naomi for her to win the title. Charlotte seems to be a face now. Becky Lynch obviously eats the submission, and she was
barely in this match as well.
Yeah. Well, she tapped to the sharpshooter at 10 minutes 5 seconds, and I've just got a little note on here. I still find it funny when people tap to the sharpshooter, because it feels as though no one's tapped to that in a decade.
Fair enough. You forget to mention as well, she got the hot tag, but it just set up her losing. It was so underwhelming. I mean, again, the story of Backlash, spoilers, it's a bunch of TV matches on pay-per-view. They're okay. There's nothing overall horrible about them, but it just starts to add up, and you're wondering, am I going to be spending nearly 3 hours watching an extended, slightly rubbisher version of SmackDown?
Yeah.
But as I said before, is Natalya must be number 1 contender at this point to Naomi's title.
Yeah, but then they've got Charlotte, so I just imagine that they'd stick the belt on Charlotte as soon as possible. But yeah,
but she's had 4 reigns already. I mean, are they trying to? I know you've got your thing where you believe that they're going to have Orton catch up to Cena, and then they're going to have the rubber match to determine who beats Flair's record. Which, when I say it out loud, and the cynical me is like, that is obviously what they're going to be doing, and I'm going to be ruining the day that happens at this year's WrestleMania. But are they going to try and do the same with Charlotte, where she gets 16 women's titles?
I doubt it.
She's a quarter done already.
I don't think they will. No. But maybe, who knows? I thought
world of WWE.
I actually thought I used to think she was a bit rubbish, but she's actually brilliant. I think.
No, she's on Raw. She was by far the most effective heel character.
And isn't it funny that on NXT you kind of felt that Sasha and Bayley were probably better than her or outperformed her, but since all three have gone, the fall of grace of Sasha is just. Well,
she's now feuding with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox over who can get a boyfriend.
Oh, it's just
depressing.
Really, like some of the big high-profile matches that those two obviously had as well last year, early this year and late last year. Sorry,
headlined Hell in a Cell. Women's
apparently. Vince kept putting her on in big matches. She is responsible for quite a lot of high-profile botches. In those matches, and he basically just said, "Nope, no more." And
some of them were scary looking. No, that's fair play. I mean, obviously Vince does have the fatherly tendencies to him. He doesn't want to see people get hurt on his show because he can't make money off them.
True. So that was followed by AJ Styles vs Kevin Owens and
the wrestlers match.
Catch as catch can. This was great.
I thought the nice touch as well to Owens' intro. He avoids stepping on his face on the floor.
Does it on every show?
I still think it's a nice touch. He didn't do it at WrestleMania, I think, because the stage was just too big to avoid.
He's very good. He's very aware, Owens, I think, on everything.
He's the best heel in WWE, still.
I think he's been one of the best overall performers they've had in the last year. I really do. I think him and Jericho made Raw... made it bearable.
When they were on. I mean, saying it was tolerable overall is just
some of their comedy spots.
How bad the bookings were.
Just
they were. Again, we'll talk about WrestleMania at some point, but the fact that their feud didn't have the Universal title and Lesnar and Goldberg's did when that really didn't need it, it's just.
Yep.
I mean, we know why, but Owens by far the most effective heel, best person in the WWE at this point on the main roster. And Styles, of course, there's nothing. What else can you say about him?
Best in the world.
Yeah, best. It's the best of the best.
Well, best in WWE, shall we say, or best in North American wrestling. This match was quite fun. I thought the ending, the finish was again TV. You know. You just couldn't imagine 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years ago a high-profile match like this ending on a count-out spot where, he's got his foot caught. I've won. Yeah, give me my belt. I'm running away. You know. And then obviously super kicked him, which was a nice heelish move. But so Kevin Owens wins the match via count-out at 21 minutes 10 seconds.
I was going to say that match was not 20 minutes long.
It's the longest on the card, longest on the whole weekend, I believe.
It was. It didn't have the unrelenting pace that both men have had with Cena. I have to admit, their matches felt. Those two matches. Well, no, how many matches did they have altogether? 6, wasn't it? Owens and Cena and AJ and Cena.
AJ and Cena have had 2 singles matches.
Just 2. Oh, of course, and there's triple threat I'm thinking of, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, they haven't. They've had 3 singles matches. There's 2 clean finishes, and there was one when Anderson and Gallows got involved. The
first one, yeah. But just getting back to the first point, those matches felt like with Cena, they felt unrelenting. Like, literally was,
there you go.
Break out everything in the kitchen sink to get a victory. This one was a bit more paced, as you say, television match.
Big Match John, though, is the answer to that.
That, and he's an incredibly underrated cardiac wrestler. Obviously, he's not had to do that, but anyway, getting besides the point, back to AJ and Kevin.
Yeah, it was good. It was okay. It's it's TV-like booking for a pay-per-view where they're thinking about
Money in the Bank, thinking about SummerSlam. Can we get? Actually, no, Money in the Bank. They're both involved, aren't they, in the main event?
So maybe we'll get. Well, there you go. Maybe they're eyeing some big. Obviously, it's NBA playoff season, so SmackDown ratings are going to fall, much like Raws are at the moment. New record lows this week, apparently. So maybe they're going to stick some big AJ Owens matches to main event SmackDown to try and get some viewers back during this, what is a barren time for WWE when the NBA playoffs are on. But yeah, it was cool. I think these two will ultimately get the best out of each other.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, this is the first chapter.
Yes.
There'll be more, and you can only hope it will get even better.
Yeah. And in a book that I hope has only one chapter and no more chapters, Luke Harper against Eric Rowan. I actually, my notes for this match are literally no comment. I just could not get into this match, and I think
you're lucky I do keep notes.
So go on, give me what you've got for this match.
First and foremost, I love Luke Harper. I think he's one of the most underrated big men in the WWE at the moment.
Agreed.
I'm glad he's split it away. Eric Rowan, I think, has got the short end of the stick.
Yep.
He's actually done some nice work on Talking Smack in the past few weeks.
Yep.
I think if they do right, they could maybe do some sort of, not as big as Kane, obviously, but, they could make him into some sort of bizarre monster. People were talking about, they're going to have Sister Abigail because of some photos he had on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see. Again, I do like both of these guys. It's a decent start, a decent pace. Harper ends up on the top rope and gets knocked off, landing on the steel steps, and it sounded absolutely fucking nasty, but it was obviously quite safe.
Yep.
Then the crowd dies.
Yeah.
Saxton, because I tune out at the commentary so much, but he made a point which made no sense. Saxton says the pair never liked each other, simply stayed together for the greater good. So that was complete bollocks. I thought, they had a cult.
Well, they were family members.
Yes. The crowd is dead, therefore breaks out a Fire Bradshaw chant, although it's not very loud this time. Not as much CM Punk chants either.
No, if a CM Punk chant did break out, apparently the rest of the arena booed the crowd out. It was even in Chicago. I think we're coming towards the end of the CM Punk chant era.
3 years over. Is that what we're going to call it? We've got an episode lined up to say how would we define an era? Would we call WrestleMania 30 to this point the CM Punk chant era?
Well, I would go as far to say that the Royal Rumble prior to WrestleMania 30 until, say, around this time as it started to fizzle out, could be known as the crowd hijack era. But we digress.
Yes. Anyway, crowd is now dead. Rowan is still in charge. It's a slow pace. Both are capable of more. As soon as I write this, however, Rowan goes for a top rope splash. Harper dodges. This leads to the outside where Harper hits a safe tope, beginning his comeback. And despite Rowan looking at his mask for inspiration towards the end, Harper hits his discus clothesline for the win. And the story of this pay-per-view is an okay match that lacked sizzle, but crowd was dead as a dodo. Obviously, this was the piss break match of the pay-per-view. It was a match. It existed. It's nice to see both get pay-per-view time, but it didn't go anywhere.
Pay-per-view time, they were in the piss break section, as you said. And it was there. And it obviously leads to what is a very hotly debated subject.
Yep. I think we're going to be talking about this for at least 3 months, depending on where the direction of the WWE's profits go.
Randy Orton defends the WWE title, the main World Championship title in the World Wrestling Entertainment.
That's very cool of you. The World Wrestling Entertainment.
Against Jinder Mahal of former
Three-man
band fame.
He's the fun one.
So, what did you think of this match?
Right, okay. I thought this was the match of the night. I know that's going to blow your mind.
I could see that.
I can understand why people are very upset with Jinder becoming number one contender. I think it's nice to have a new face in the main event scene.
Agreed.
I would definitely agree with the point that it's possibly unjust because he's not won anything. I think since Mania, where he was unlucky not to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which Mojo won. I think since then, however, he's been booked very well. He obviously was involved in last month's pay-per-view where he interfered at the end of the House of Horrors match.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like this match. So it's a very weird dynamic because the heel challenger is the underdog. He even gets the Ray comparison, which is, Rey Mysterio. The match begins as a schmoz. So Orton goes for Mahal before he's even announced and the bell was rung, and I immediately thought, oh, he actually might win this title because they're obviously doing this nonsense to begin with.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But to their credit, when the referee asks Mahal if he actually wants to go, to continue, he actually looked generally pissed off. And I thought, oh, okay, he's actually doing quite well thus far. It does feel like a big time match with the start of, the schmoz at the beginning. The crowd is into it. And then Orton goes for his RKO immediately. Mahal escapes and ends up back outside, knocked down. It is I was thinking, are they going to be able to do this for 10, 15 minutes? And then I had a shower fall. This is Orton's first pay-per-view title defense. And the WWE has this, the past 4 times that this belt has been defended on pay-per-view, the defending champion has lost. So we had Royal Rumble, we had AJ lose. Elimination Chamber, we had Cena lose. Mania, we had Wyatt lose. And obviously lost. And then last month, the title wasn't on the line. So I'm thinking, okay, so Mahal has a good chance because of the schmoz. So is Orton going to win? Because they wouldn't be stupid enough to do this 4 times on the trot.
Well,
but Jinder,
5.
Yeah.
No,
5, yeah.
Sorry, 4. No, it's 3, but Orton did lose.
Jinder was getting heat as well. I noticed he was getting the heel pop, which is where the older crowd, the older jaded lot are behind him, while the Let's Go Cena, where the octaves are about 5 higher, are firmly behind Orton. Which made me laugh because the WWE has pushed I'll just get to this final point. The WWE has basically pushed Mahal as it's the racism angle all over again.
Yeah, I've got some notes on that.
They've pushed him to say, you don't like me because of what I look like and what I represent. But half the crowd actually does like him, so we're much more tolerant. I wanted him to bloody win.
I wanted him to win based on I'm just interested in the whole. They're obviously playing to this new or this Indian market where apparently most of their social media followers emanate from India. Yeah, apparently they have a very big TV deal in India where they make a lot of money off of their TV deal, but they make no merch money. They haven't got an awful lot of network subs.
No tour often either.
No, but there's reasons for that, and that's one of them is that. Correct me if I'm wrong, people that know more than me, that the Indian population is not incredibly wealthy. And obviously wrestling is a sport is a sports entertainment package that, historically has been aimed at the more working classes and stuff like that. And the working classes of India do not have, $20 in their pocket to buy a T-shirt or to pay $9.99 or whatever it is for a network. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they don't see an awful lot of that audience transfer into cash money. But just going back to the match quickly, just before we just discuss this a little bit further. But, so Jinder wins around 15 minutes with a half Nelson slam. Don't think it's an incredibly great move, but, it looks threatening enough. The match was the match was okay in terms of actual pro wrestling match.
Can I say as well, the commentators never picked this up. Mahal spends most of the match working on arm locks.
Yeah.
So Orton I mean, it does play into the match later because Orton literally cannot hit the RKO.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's quite clever. No one picked it up in commentary.
And obviously his finishing move focuses on an arm as well.
Yes, exactly. And I'm just thinking that's very smart booking. You know, that's smart wrestling.
Yeah.
No one bothered to even make a mention of it. So I was like, oh, well, fuck you guys then.
Yeah. So Jinder Mahal is the new WWE champion.
Strange to say that. It's like 2K17's universe mode. I mean, he's not even in that, but it's like one of the universe modes is literally, oh, fuck it, pick him. He'll do. He'll be champion. You've simmed too much.
Yeah, one last comment regarding the events during the match. When Randy Orton flipped the Singh brothers onto the tables, both of them landed on their heads, and he knew that he fucked up majorly as well because of the face he pulled. I honestly thought that was an absolute fuck move from him. Did not enjoy watching that. I hate watching a wrestler land on their head.
That was the second one in particular. I
just thought it was a cunt move, basically.
Moved JBL's hat though.
Incredibly careless. So yeah, he's dropped the title. Whatever. And on to Jinder Mahal. I'll say a few things, just my opinions quickly. He's certainly in the Vince McMahon WWE Championship mould. In that,
what do you mean by that exactly?
I mean, since August last year to now, he's a physically completely different, and you know there are varying opinions on as to why. The official line is that he has a new diet, which makes him have. You'd think it's impossible, but he appears to have minus body fat in that his skin seems to be absorbed into his muscles now.
He does look good.
Yeah, and so when it comes to the gripes that people have that he's been hot-shotted into this, I'm enjoying what's going on. I think it's an interesting point. I actually think that, again, due to the safety of the network, the WWE have got a little bit more leeway to mess around with things like this, which is interesting. And, you know, some people think that's good, some people think it's bad. I think that the booking and the hot shotting of him into this situation, and obviously now the champion, I just wish that 2 to 3 weeks before that fatal four-way, or what is it, a fatal four-way, or is it a six-pack challenge for the number one contender? I can't remember. Because it just came out of nowhere.
The Battle Royal, you mean, on SmackDown? Which
So he just wins that. You know, even if he had 2 to 3 weeks of, even if it was just squashes against some enhancement guys, or if he had a couple of really easy wins over, I don't know, just bring anyone in, or, you know, again, enhancement, squash, just anything that would have made him look good before that Battle Royale, whatever it was, match. Because since then, after that, I mean, he's barely fought a match since then, has he? He's had a couple of things on SmackDown, I think. Didn't he have a match against Styles last week?
I
or the week
believe
before?
so. Yeah, I think.
And AJ didn't really make him look good, which, you know, should be alarm bells if you're Vince McMahon. But I don't think.
Look, Reese, he's got the look,
and he isn't a particularly bad wrestler, actually. I think anyone who tries to criticise him based on his wrestling ability is wrong. I think that he's not ready in terms of his wrestling output yet at this level, but you can only learn by doing. So that's, you know, he's got that on his side. And yeah, just on the racism thing. It was apparently, according to Talkers Jericho last week, that wasn't what the angle was going to be. It was going to be not racial, but Vince changed it to like a more, you know, basically you're all white rednecks and you hate me because I'm brown. But the thing is, he's the Maharaja. Was it? Oh, this is my
Maharaja. I can't pronounce developmental, and you can't pronounce.
There you go. So he's the Maharaja, right? Which is actually, you know, that's obviously a play on the Indian caste system. Which obviously means that he could, without using the racial element, he could come out and say, "I am the Maharaja," whatever it is, and I am above you. I am this. I am that, because that's obviously a very high up caste in the Indian in the
Yeah, they did the same thing with Del Rio.
Yeah,
I'm rich. You people are poor as fuck.
Yeah,
Carlos.
But I think it's just because does Vince not have confidence that his audience know what that is? And the answer to that is probably no. So they've gone for the I'm the evil foreigner. But the thing with the evil foreigner is the evil foreigner always loses to the plucky American face, and there's no pluckier, more American face in the WWE than John Cena. So that's what I think's going to happen eventually.
Hated you for raising this. I remember you mentioned it. It's like the most obvious thing. It literally is. It's hidden in plain sight. They are, Cena.
Well, we'll see if that's what... Would they do that for number 17? Is that a big enough name for 17? I don't know. And I always thought 17 would be at WrestleMania.
I'd say no, but there is parallels between Mahal and obviously JBL, where both had transitioned suddenly from, mid-cards, nobodies, to suddenly, oh shit, you're WWE champion. You've beaten an established guy. And now there's a strong possibility that Mahal will hold that title for as long as it takes for them to get into the Indian market and to make their money.
I'd quite like it if he had at least a solid run of 3 or 4 months, which involved maybe the odd clean win. I don't know. There's always going to be fuckery because of the stable element and the Singh
As I said before, he's very similar to Seth with J&J Security. That's one of my notes as well. He literally comes out with the Singh brothers, and it's Seth all over again.
Yeah, Seth got barely any clean wins during that run?
No, it was all shenanigans, which was why he was getting such a mixed reception when when he faced against Cena, he was obviously clear favourite. When he faced against other guys, it was like, oh, you're such a chicken shit, and you're booked terribly. So I would like it if he plays a much more aggressive and angry guy, and literally the Singh brothers are there just to guarantee it. I mean, they got it right at the start of this match. They literally, him and Orton have a brawl before the bell even rings. He gets fucked off immediately and just looks so angry. I mean, I like this match. I thought it was heated. Crowd was really into it. Yeah. There was a substantial portion of the crowd behind Mahal, which I think is a testament to his booking and his character. He literally at least has a character, as opposed to, Mahal is as you said, you've just gone into, you've explained what he is. Yeah. What is Orton's character? Orton has spent the last...
What is the Viper?
Yeah, but what is that?
Means that the Viper character is a natural heel, as far as I'm concerned, and he always should be. If it's a snake. You never hear, apart from Jake the Snake. I'm going to correct myself before I even say it, but it's very rare that you have someone associated with a snake and their face. Except, I'll also correct myself and say that Jake the Snake's best work was his pretty great heel persona. But yeah, I digress majorly. It was cool. I like the direction they're going in. I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested to watch more to see where they go with it.
There must be obviously Orton wasn't on SmackDown this week, but they must be having a rematch.
Oh yeah, they are. It's Money in the Bank rematch is booked.
Oh, it is right. Okay, that's fine. But again, this is the consecutive pay-per-view again. Well, we're going to have to go back through again, where the WWE champion has defended the title for the first time on pay-per-view and has lost. Is he now going to break the chain, Mahal? Is he actually going to beat Orton?
You would imagine so. And there you go. That straight away, if he was to even defend it once or twice in the next 2 to 3 months, that strengthens his position and makes him look good. Just by comparative booking, he's going to look good.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the racial overtones with the angle, it's just boring at this point. I don't give a shit about where people come from. It's this world wrestling entertainment. The very idea that America is the forepoint of the entire company is just ludicrous. As I said to you before, can you imagine if any boxing organization or even UFC centered their entire promotion around American combatants and then just left everybody else out on the lurch? So you'd immediately lose the Canadian wrestlers, you immediately lose every European or Asian wrestler. It's just stupid at this point. Well, old doesn't need to be in the company.
Jinder is in fact Canadian and from Calgary, which is where I'm going next week. But
excellent.
Yeah, I'll go see if I can find him.
But he's brown enough to be convincing, and he speaks Punjabi, so if we can just trick the plebs.
Yeah, apparently he and Carly did some shows like just before he was re-signed with WWE. He did like a little showcase thing over in India with Carly, and they sold an awful lot of tickets, and that's probably another reason why he was re-signed.
Yeah, absolutely. I've no qualms with the WWE trying to make money. They're a business forefront. They're a publicly traded organisation, and they're going to do it. I mean, people were panicking, saying, "Well, does this mean that their Chinese signees are going to,
Well,
are they going to take forefront?"
I think yes, but no major Western sport. Actually, I'm going to correct myself. Apparently, the NBA have made some quite good inroads in China, but
they're the biggest thing in there apart from soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer. Let's be quite Meltzer. Football.
But then let's just be clear: football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, is not an American product. So
no. But football is the biggest thing in the world.
Oh, it's the biggest thing in the world. Yeah, and that will always be the way. But yeah, again, so any lasting thoughts on Backlash, or do you feel we've covered that?
It is a typical B show. Absolute. It's a long, extended episode of SmackDown with no skits. It doesn't need to be this long. I'm shocked that Mahal is WWE champion. It makes Bray's title win look completely inconsequential.
Well, did you see his tweet when Mahal won?
Yeah, I retweeted it. I felt it. Damn. But going back to Nakamura as well, he's worlds apart from his NXT debut with Zayn. He doesn't look world class.
No, not yet.
If it's to make Ziggler look on an equal playing field, then fair fucks. And the rest of the card, I mean, AJ Owens, that's the first chapter in hopefully a much longer feud with some much better matches. I thought Zayn and Corbin was good, even though the crowd was not as into it. And the rest of it was just meh. It was just a typical WWE showing 3 hours of your life. You're never going to really get back with some decent highlights.
Cool. Right, and that wraps up Backlash.
Jinder Mahal's Backlash.
Oh, well. We stole that. We make no claims on the Smarks Without Attitude podcast.
We're all Smarks Without Attitude, really.
We've done our review section of the podcast. It's got some missed talking points to go through. My first question, Harry, is another weekend, another double bill of NXT and main roster pay-per-view shows from the WWE. Why do the NXT shows regularly outdo main roster shows, in your opinion?
I think the work rate overall is much better than the main roster. There's more characters.
Just hungry, aren't they? Do you not think they're just a lot more? They're a lot hungrier. They probably have a lot more. They have less limitation as well on their work. Just for example, I honestly don't think Dunn and Bate could have got away with doing that match, or would have been allowed to do that match on Backlash if that was the case.
No, it would have been trimmed in half.
Yeah, because it was a very indie style matchup, really.
Yeah, it was big spots and some quick transitions between the spots. Yeah, but they would have been allowed to have done that. They would have just cut it. They said, "You've got 7 minutes. Go out there and do your best."
Yeah, it just seems such a consistent thing that NXT just outdoes the main roster, and we've been hearing it for a good couple of years now. In that, after these NXT shows, you kind of listen to the podcasts, or you think to yourself, "Oh, tomorrow night it's going to be so good," because the main roster can't allow NXT to show them up again, and they're going to be... And they don't. They just... I mean, I'm not saying it's their fault. It's obviously not. I'm not a wrestler, and Christ, I've never taken a bump.
No, we're smart enough not to do that.
Smart or scared, both.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a bit of a conundrum, really. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point to bring up. Does lead me to a very Reese-heavy section, perhaps, and that is the New Japan Pro Wrestling. Still somewhat of a novice, but I have been watching New Japan, bless you, I've been watching New Japan quite a lot since the G1 last year when Kenny Omega won with what I can only describe as superhuman feats of athleticism in some of the matches he had in such a short space of time, and that's one of the things that I love about Japanese wrestling. But yeah, we have the Best of the Super Juniors, the 24th edition, ongoing at the moment, and this is basically very Japanese. New Japan wrestling is very tournament based. For Harry here, who may not listen or may not watch it as much, rather.
I was literally going to say, is it a tournament or is it league brackets?
No, so it's 2 rounds, 2 blocks of, I think it's 8 wrestlers each. I could be wrong there. They have 7 matches in each thing. So yeah, no. Anyway, whatever it is, it's the junior heavyweight division, which is essentially younger, smaller guys in New Japan. So kind of like a light heavyweight championship, but sometimes those guys end up going up to heavyweight. And it's a mix of mostly Japanese wrestlers, a couple of foreign guys, some guys from Ring of Honor, and a couple of Mexican wrestlers as well. Previous winners, obviously, Chris Benoit, Prince Devitor, aka Finn Balor, and our very own Will Ospreay, who is attempting to defend his Best of Super Juniors title at the moment. Round robin, 2 blocks of wrestlers, round robin, winner of each block face each other in the final. And it's a very good tournament this year so far. I believe we've got 3 matches left. Everyone has 3 matches left. We've had Ospreay against Ricochet. Well, Ospreay Ricochet 2 in New Japan, but obviously since their match last year created the great flippy divide that saw Vader and Ospreay have a match at Rev Pro at York Hall in London.
Vader won, didn't he? If I remember.
Yeah, Vader won, and the piss kettle was boiled. But it was just, it just showed you that Ospreay isn't. I quite like that, actually.
I do like Ospreay to be. He's Ricochet for that belt.
They're amazing, and they work so well together.
Just got to cut out the dives.
Well, I was just going to say, so they're
I was like, are you going to get to the dives, or are we just going to ignore
their match?
Small elephant.
Their match actually had an awful lot of mat chain wrestling, which I thought was a direct dig or a kind of, we can do this, but we don't want to bore our audience kind of vibe. But yeah, obviously Will Ospreay especially is a mascot, I believe, for the ... dive opinion, I guess, of pro wrestling fans, or shall we say pro wrestlers who like to get drunk in Denmark and tweet stuff.
To be fair, it was an accurate description, but there's nothing wrong with watching those matches.
The one that Rip Rogers tweeted was quite... I thought it was quite funny. And
it was funny.
Most independent wrestlers most wrestlers, well, mostly independent, I guess, who did react to that tweet, a lot of them did say that it sounded accurate. I believe one of the Jacksons, the Young Bucks, said that it sounded like a good match. But, my personal opinion is that there is obviously a very big boom in independent wrestling, especially in England at the moment, but more so around the world. A big part of that is the more dive or flippy orientated wrestling that Will Ospreay and Ricochet, but I do think Ospreay is the poster boy for this, and rightly so. He's awesome. He's so cool. I think he's only 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah,
and
another young one.
By the time he's 30, he'll either be crippled or hopefully in good shape. There's the options.
Very badly maimed, or he'll be fine. Well,
yeah,
that's a safe bet. He'll be one or the other.
Yeah, and they had their rematch in New Japan. Ospreay won. It was an excellent match. Some people have given it the old 5 stars.
Not 6 though. No 6.
No 6s. Say what you want about the dive stuff. I watch these matches. I'm very entertained. I think it's pretty excellent. There's a spot he does when he does a
Dragon Rana.
Oh, the Dragon Rana. Oh, it's just so good. I mean, that's the thing. And people say, oh, blah, 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 flippy flip. Mysterio's hit a few of those in the WWE. So, you know.
I believe it's just people that have disparaging opinions on what professional wrestling is, but wrestling is so radically different from what it was 10, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, the talent that is on the whole, I mean, obviously its work rate is substantially much better. Yeah. And Ospreay, Ricochet, there's an entire generation of wrestlers. Obviously, there's the element that they'll do what Daniel Bryan did, where they just burn out completely because the human body is very durable, but it is not built to take that sort of punishment. It's not built to do those type of maneuvers on a regular basis. No. But for our entertainment, then what else can you do? I mean, they're some of the best wrestlers in the world. I was going to ask, with the Super Juniors, is there a clear-cut favourite for this tournament? It's the Ospreay's defending.
Well, it's just to be clear, the junior heavyweight champion, Hiromu Takahashi, is in the tournament. So the champion usually goes in the tournament, and this is because Japanese wrestling tends to be very light on angles and scripted storytelling. Very much the storytelling and booking angles derive from the matches themselves. So
similar to boxing, they try and put some gimmicks in the build-up, but it's not full-fledged. I hate all of you white people because you hate me for being brown.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
But in this case, and then also in the G1, so the G1 is the heavyweight version, basically, of this tournament. The champion is usually in it, and if anyone defeats the champion during the Super Juniors tournament, then they earn themselves a title shot.
Oh, really? Just a title shot?
Yeah.
That's a good little
Obviously, the winner of the Best of the Super Juniors gets a title shot as well, and obviously there's a big show coming up in early June, Dominion, which I was going to mention in a minute. That's where the winner of this will likely face Takahashi at Dominion. Is there a favourite? I'm not sure. The way it's looking at the moment, Dragon Lee could possibly win it, but then Dragon Lee has beat Takahashi, so he's got himself a title shot already, so they might not do that.
Would it be splintered into one, say, if Takahashi loses several matches in the Super Juniors tournament, would he have to defend the title in a against
No. So is
it just one? Sorry,
it'll be one-on-one matches.
Right.
Similar to the G1, if the eventual G1 winner loses any of his matches, then he will have to rematch the people he lost. And I believe if you win the G1, that's basically the Money in the Bank. You get a title match at Wrestle Kingdom. And I believe if you lose again to anyone you lost in the G1, you lose your title shot. But again, I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
So this year's Best of Super Juniors is the debut in New Japan of Marty Scurll, the villain.
Yes.
Another high-profile British wrestler making waves in Japan with his matches so far. He's doing quite well in the same block as Will Ospreay.
He's good though, Scurll.
He is. He's cool. He's very fun, very cartoonish villain.
He literally is born villain.
Yeah, he's great. Also, Zack Sabre Jr. is in Japan as well right now, and he's doing quite well. He's part of a fairly decent stable with Minoru Suzuki, Suzuki Gun as it's called. So he's doing quite well. British wrestling is just so good right now. So that will obviously lead to winner of Block A versus winner of Block B. This is the first Best of the Super Juniors that I'm actually sitting and watching the matches as they happen. I like the system that New Japan have in place, where best way I can describe it is it's a meritocracy. You know, you earn title shots are usually earned. In some cases, not always. Sometimes they like the odd angle. For example, at the last big event, Okada, the champion, fought Bad Luck Fale, I believe it is, mainly because he got attacked by him a few times, and there's an obvious Bullet Club connection with his new opponent, who is Kenny Omega. So at Dominion, I think it's on the 11th of June. I could be wrong. Huge night of wrestling in Japan, which will see the anticipated rematch of Okada and Omega. You've watched the Wrestle Kingdom match, haven't you?
I have, yes, I did watch that. It was unavoidable considering the praise it got.
It was unavoidable. It was fantastic. It was bloody 50 minutes long.
Yes, it was. It was when we were talking about Backlash, about unrelenting pace, but that match was on, I can't even describe what gear it would be on. Going at 88 miles an hour.
The thing I love about the wrestling is that obviously they do most of their storytelling in their matches in Japan, and just if you use the tournaments as a single thing, every competitor in the tournament tends to have their own little mini stories. So, for example, Jushin Liger, this is his last ever Super Juniors tournament. He's 52. His story is, unfortunately, that he's lost every match so far, and his last ever juniors tournament, he's won it 3 times. I think that's joint most. Obviously, he's 52. He's wrestled in 4 decades or something ridiculous, and he's fantastic. But obviously, storylines, it's a big build up to the final, or a big build up to who is in the final, and same as these big matches, they tend to just start off slow, as these matches do. But the last 10 minutes of that Okada Omega match was just unreal. The pace, the selling, in a lot of cases, the non-selling, the stiffness of the shots. It took 3 or 4 rainmakers to put him down.
It was 2 men beating 7 shades out of one another at such a frighteningly quick pace for such a long amount of time. Yeah, that it made you forget that most wrestling, retrospectively compared to that, it's like, Jesus, how the hell did you keep up with these two?
Well, I've got to a point now where I think I enjoy watching the actual act of pro wrestling whilst watching New Japan, whereas I obviously get my promos and my angles and my more, the more circus of wrestling from WWE and whatnot, although there's still good wrestling in WWE, obviously. But yeah, so that's a very, very big rematch. No idea what they're going to do. You'd think if Omega won that might point towards him not going to WWE next year, which still seems to be a big rumour that people are latched onto and still think will happen. If he loses against Okada, then I'm fairly certain he will not be in New Japan next year. That's just my opinion. And there you go, there's a little Japan update, because I'm enjoying watching Japanese wrestling lately. So there you go. Thought I'd share that.
That's fun. It's interesting to hear about the different brands of wrestling that are available. Obviously, again, I stick to WWE because it's the most easily accessible, obviously, with the network. Obviously, New Japan has its own network subscription service.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't
You've given it away.
I don't have 2 subscriptions. I've just got married. I'm not made of money.
Get off that internet.
Yeah, and that leads me to my last little bit. Obviously, we are British men.
No, we've been working you, Marks. We're
British men. We like wrestling. So obviously, the booming British wrestling scene right now is
good.
A sight to behold. We're producing incredibly good wrestlers. Events are selling out.
We have not desaturated our market. We're a small market, but we haven't desaturated it.
No, not yet. No, and just
not ruined it.
No, not yet. Well, I'm hoping we don't. We seem to have a lot of organisations that have been run very well. One of those, obviously, is Progress Wrestling.
Yep.
They've just announced they're doing Alexandra Palace, which is a fairly big venue. Bigger in terms.
The acoustics improved since we've been.
Luckily, we're not going to go see the Arctic Monkeys there again. But yeah, they've announced that they're doing the West Hall, which holds 2,000 for wrestling, which is actually down from the attendance they achieved at Brixton Academy last year. But the setup is very much going to be more wrestling, or like a wrestling boxing set up, so the ring will be in the middle, crowds surrounding. I think the atmosphere will be a lot better. Progress put on really good shows, really good talent. I mean, that's obviously where the likes of Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Jimmy Havoc. Will Ospreay probably got himself largely on the big time doing some of these really big matches with Havoc a few years ago in Progress. So yeah, that's Havoc's awesome.
The most un-PG thing that I would love him to be in WWE, but I know it would never work.
Well, he got a few matches at the Orlando thing. What was it? What do they call it? The Access shows.
Access.
So yeah, they're doing that, and that'll be really good. I think they also just announced the New York shows. They're going back to America, so that's obviously a little expansion thing. I think they're doing with Evolve in America. And yeah, I've got tickets to the Ali Palace show, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And then Rev Pro is another big British wrestling organisation. They're obviously Progress have some kind of relationship with WWE, which is pretty cool. As do I.
Definitely had some sort of arrangement nearly where their stuff was going to go on the network.
Well,
that's
still a work in progress, I'm hoping, so that'd be cool.
That's a good pun.
As with ICW and OTT as well, who are ICW is Scottish and OTT are Irish, I believe. Yeah.
That's not a knock on their talents, but everyone literally our pod. Well, fortunately not this episode, but nearly every other word is cunt out of ICW. It is funny.
It is funny, yeah. Grado is a polarising character.
Do you like Grado?
I think he's quite funny, yeah.
Yeah. See, then I'm like.
So Rev Pro set themselves apart in the world of British wrestling they've got a very big relationship with New Japan. They've got a very big and with Ring of Honor, and obviously with CMLL now, because they've just announced a very big 4-way joint tour, War of the Worlds, I believe it's called. So New Japan, Ring of Honor, CMLL from Mexico are going to be doing a big tour. London, I think it's London, Liverpool, and Edinburgh. They're doing the Olympia, which is near you.
Oh, cool.
So yep, they're doing very well. I'm going to the British J Cup actually because it's quite local to me, and I'm going to get to, and that's obviously they're doing a kind of Japanese style tournament, which is obviously a celebration of their connection to New Japan. Tiger Mask, Jushin Liger, Taguchi, Kushida is going to be there. He's a former heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, or junior champion. Ospreay, Skrull are going to be there. Hiromu Takahashi is going to be there. Very big Japanese element. Very much looking forward to it. And British wrestling is so good, and I'm actually quite glad I'm starting to get to these shows now. And yeah, it's looking very good. And there was just a thing about What Culture that you were going to mention, Harry.
Yeah, What Culture have obviously had their they have their show loaded, or did have their show.
Is that weekly?
It was, I believe it was taped. No, it wasn't taped. Tell it was live. That's right, it was live. Obviously, What Culture is the BuzzFeed of professional wrestling. They mostly specialise in putting together top 10 lists on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Google has recently changed their monetary... how can I put it? Their algorithm for YouTube has changed.
Their advertising settings.
Their advertising settings. And professional wrestling in general is viewed as offensive content. Now, what this means basically is that with What Culture, where they were hoping to produce a live stream on YouTube, where they would get monetary funds from people watching, which they do get a lot of views, to be fair. They get, I mean, some of their videos have got up to a couple million, if I remember.
Yep.
But because of this, it's something ridiculous. They did post a video saying that one of their videos got over 1 million views, but they only earned $40-something, which is mind-boggling how that worked.
Yeah.
So because of this, they planned at least 8, maybe even 10 tapings, live shows in Manchester for WCPW Loaded, but that's now been cancelled.
Right.
Now, obviously, What Culture has been a bit of an unusual situation because they're fundamentally a website which does a couple of articles. It's a lot of self-publishing. But they have managed to pull off some very big shows with some very big names. Obviously, off the top, it's Kurt Angle. They've had Eric Bischoff. They've had Bret Hart. They've had Alberto Del Petron. What's his fucking thing name.
Patron, El Patron or whatever it is, El Patron.
When he can be bothered to not get pissed the day before, and several others. So their funding they've obviously got quite a lot of money going in, but they cannot justify doing these shows. So they've now been cancelled. I don't know what this actually means for WCPW for the long term, because obviously they've been doing currently, they have their own subscription service. So they've now cancelled basically the build to those major events they've done. Yeah,
they're quite a polarising organisation, aren't they? Because they're based in England. But they do bring in a lot of foreign, or shall we say, external talent, which is something. So
they're definitely not like Progress or ICW, where
where it's very minimal, and very much associated to independent wrestling. Like the Matt Riddles of this world tend to turn up at Progress and Rev Pro quite a bit, but they're not actually associated to any major brand, whereas a Cody Rhodes, for example, who ends up in What Culture quite a lot, is quite well associated with TNA, Ring of Honor, and New Japan. He's a member of the Bullet Club in New Japan, as is Marty Scurll, as I forgot to mention earlier. But yeah, it's a shame, because obviously it isn't just What Culture that use YouTube. A lot of people use YouTube to make money for their hobbies or to support their hobbies, be it wrestling or anything else. So yeah, it's a shame that they've had to cancel 8 to 10 shows. And that shows that.
It mentioned. And from because obviously they ran Loaded previously, and they were hyping up just before this was announced, saying that they've made vast improvements over it. I did watch the very first episode of WCPW, and it was quite an experience. It was very low key. But apparently they have made leaps and bounds. Their shows, their big main event shows, do get some talk, obviously, because again they do bring in a lot of names. But again, this is a case of where YouTube's algorithms have caused something quite serious to happen to professional wrestling. Obviously, the WWE have their own separate contract with YouTube, so this doesn't affect them.
They were actually right. I was just thinking about that. Right. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, no, they organised it, so the WWE will still get played. They're the big fish in a very small pond as far as they're concerned. But for other obviously there's tons of original content. Just to name drop a few, obviously you have Wrestling with Regret with Brian Zane. OSW, as far as I'm aware, don't use advertising, because they would never be able to justify that being, I think they've said it themselves, they'd never be able to justify how that would be fair use. Big J was smart enough to even ask a lawyer, and it was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So it's a shame, because it just means for professional wrestling it's much more harder to advertise bits and pieces on YouTube, where obviously that's the main point around the world of watching video content. But again, YouTube has never made Google money. It's a what's a good word we can use, a good term we can use for something that basically just loses tons of money and makes jack shit, costs a lot.
What, YouTube in general? Yeah, but YouTube is owned by Google, so it's not. Yeah.
I know it's probably to Google itself being the all-encompassing media thing. It's probably like piss in the wind, but obviously if they draw the line at some point.
Wait, does YouTube in general lose money then?
Yes, it's never made money.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's never made money. That's why they've changed the algorithm, so it's much more. How can I put it?
If anything, it's probably by doing this they're trying to attract a better kind of uploader, aren't they?
The word I was looking for was attract better business.
That's That's the same thing. Okay, that's interesting. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, again, it's a place for guys to work. And WCPW does provide that still. And I do watch their videos and stuff. I do find them very interesting. They aren't, it's pure clickbait, but sometimes you just want to spend 10 minutes just like reminiscing about wrestling. Because it's still very unusual, because it's such a niche thing. But we'll have to see what happens with them. They have their own subscription service, but obviously if YouTube was their main point of trying to get people to at least join that, where does it go from there?
Yeah, good point. Cool. Right, one sec. Right, I think that's everything I've got down. That's our first agenda done.
Lovely. I think I pronounced Skull's name wrong. I think I said Skrull, so it's going to be like fucking Marvel Comics.
Marty Skrull.
Yo, I said Mighty Scroll. He's been replaced by the Evil Scrolls. They've duplicated.
No, cool. This was therapeutic, fun.
Yes, it was. I'm absolutely fucking shattered, and I want my roast.
It's a way to spend a Wednesday night, I guess. No, cool. If anyone's actually listened to this, thank you for listening. I'm probably going to stick this on SoundCloud when I get a chance. It needs an edit, but we'll go from there. So, yeah, thank you very much. We'll be back. I've actually enjoyed this process, so I think we'll be back, even if it's just for our own entertainment. Hey, Harry.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. I like the sound of my own voice.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back with something 1997 themed, so that'll either be Montreal Screwjob, the build to and Starrcade 97. I quite like the idea of. Or
so if we actually do Starrcade, when do we realistically start? Because that could be start when Sting.
Kane's debut. That sounds quite fun. Or actually, sorry, the birth of DX. That's a good one. And also the birth of Tyler Bate, who was born in 1997.
To rub it in, didn't you?
Well, he's 10 years younger than me, the prick. And he's doing the thing that
talented prick.
And he's doing the thing I used to pretend to do in my bedroom when I was a child. You know, power bombing pillows and whatnot.
Bombing off couches. Parents are very upset.
Oh, senton bombing.
He'll grow out of it. It'll be all right.
Couch pillows. Yeah.
Just a phase.
Yeah, we'll be back for something like that. That'll be quite fun. To research and discuss. Cool. So I shall say goodbye. So it's goodbye from me, and it's a goodbye from Harry. Say goodbye, Harry.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, cool. Toodaloo.
India number one. One guy ahead, number one. Punjab. WWE champion. India say